Hello, welcome to our Friday afternoon broadcast. Today we are going to be talking about the healthy approach to retirement. Michael is on the heels of retirement, so we're going to talk to you a little bit about the plan that we kind of have for ourselves and what Michael's looking at as far as a man and approaching his retirement in a healthy way. We're going to share some ideas that we have for you as well. If you're new, welcome. We love having you here. Every Friday we broadcast on this page, I Have Keto Family Life, and we share what it is we're doing in our lifestyle with incorporating intermittent fasting and living a keto-like lifestyle, what we're doing with our family, and how it is we are really learning how to implement this lifestyle so that we can go on through our years as a couple together and as a family living our most authentic life and in a most healthy way. My name is Diane, and this is Michael. And Michael's going to primarily talk today because he is the one retiring. And, of course, I'll butt in at the point where a wife always butts in and shares what it is I think we can do as wives to kind of help our husbands as well. So like I said, Michael's on the eve of retirement. He should be retiring from a career that he has been in for
35 years.
35 years.
It'll be 35 years next April.
Yeah, and hopefully he'll be retiring in April. Hopefully sooner, but his retirement date is April. So, Michael, how do you view a healthy approach to retirement?
Well, first I can tell you that I've seen a lot of unhealthy approaches. I've been with American Airlines, like I said, for 35 years in April, and I've seen a lot of guys retire, and a lot of the times it doesn't end so well because I don't think they really prepare for it. I think
when you say prepare, what do you mean?
Well, I've seen a lot of guys that are physical on the job, and that one thing has been the thing that's kind of helped them to really keep from breaking down. I mean, they're not healthiest as it is. I mean, that's not everybody, of course, but I've seen a lot of this. But it's just enough activity for them to survive. And then when they retire, they go downhill really fast because they haven't prepared in a way like as far as their health, like, you know, eating the right way, exercising enough, and these sort of things, and, you know, drinking too much, eating all the wrong foods. And then the minute you retire and you're living this really even more sedentary lifestyle, then it really shows up in your health. And unfortunately, I mean, it happens all the time. And I'm sure you've seen people in your life. I mean, family, you see it with family, you see it with friends, you see it with people you work with. And it's kind of sad because all it would take is just a little bit of forethought with that, you know, you could get prepared. And it's not too difficult to get yourself prepared.
Yeah, go ahead.
But you just can't go into the same thing you've always done and expect that, you know, you're going to be healthy.
One thing that, you know, Mike and I have seriously sat down and talked about as far as his retirement goes is that, you know, the sad part, and we're talking in generalities here. We know not every family is this way, but we're going to share with you our experience. So Michael, like you said, he's been at American Airlines for 30 something years, and there's been many weekends where Michael had to miss out on some family events, the kids' baseball games or a soccer game, or he's missed out on school events.
Well, not baseball. I was the baseball coach.
You were the baseball coach, but when you weren't the coach, there were some things,
right,
weekday practices or whatever.
Right.
There's things in a man's life, if he's the one that's leaving the home and going to work, that you can't make up for that lost time. You're going to miss school recitals, you're going to miss luncheons, you're going to miss the, you know, father-daughter tea or whatever it is, because you have to be at your job. If your job is not that type of job that'll let you go. The type of job that Michael's been on with American Airlines has been great for us, but it's a clock in, clock out type of job. So he has to be there when he's clocked in, and he can't leave till he clocks out. And so he's stuck. He doesn't have the flexibility and the freedom over the past, you know, 18 years since we've had kids together to just come and go as he pleases and meet every event. And so what we always think is so sad is that that's a justified thing you have to do. You have a job, you have to go to your job, you can't miss your job for a dance recital. Sometimes it's heartbreaking as it is, it's just the way it is. How sad is it that then you finally retire and you can be in your life, but you're still missing things because you're tired or immobile or you're sick or whatever it is. And so you work your whole life to get to this point where you can finally be present and active in your life, whether it's with your grown kids or kids that are still growing. Gabby's going to be 12 and Michael's retiring. We have grandkids we haven't had yet. And how sad for Michael if he were to have to miss all of that because he's not healthy. And so we've purposely lived a life of making sure that we keep our health intact because we want to be able to have Michael around. We want to be able to have me around for our kids and our grandkids because we've worked so hard to set up this life for ourselves. We don't want to miss it. And I think that's really where you're headed with what you wanted to share with today. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to share. It's like I said, just having a little forethought about it can really make all the difference, because if you're headed down a path that's going to lead you to, like Diane said, just being sick. And if you're already on the edge of that anyway, because you haven't done a lot, then, but even people that consider themselves to be healthy are still not doing enough. Like I work with guys that, they consider that they go to the gym or they might exercise, but you can just see like that they're just really not all that healthy. So like I was saying before, all it takes is just being a little bit more immobile, like where you're just more sedentary, being at home all the time. And like Diane was saying, like the adjustment to all that, like how are you going to adjust? You've been missing all this time. And what generally happens is, we see it all the time, is the wife usually ends up being the one. She's spunky and she's been doing her thing, and now you're kind of the one that's immobile.
Well, and then not so much that the being home or raising kids is any easier than being away at a job, but it just allows for different opportunities. Right. And oftentimes when you're away and you have, you're clocked in for a certain amount of time, or you're in some really high demand, stressful, corporate type of job, and you're super stressed, or maybe you've had to travel a lot and you don't have a plan. And so oftentimes we plan for retirement in regards to financial means, or we plan for retirement as far as how we're going to leave our career. You have like kind of an exit strategy and how you're going to get out, but we don't have an exit strategy, or what we talked about, like the entry strategy back into your life. And like Michael said, like if you don't have hobbies, or you don't have a way of managing your own personal health, or you don't have anything to look forward to in retirement, what do you do with yourself? Because your time went from being so occupied and so structured to nothing. And there's a lot of people that we know who end up like Judge Judy experts or whatever. Like you're sitting in your lazy boy and you're watching TV all day because you don't know what to do with yourself. So we are developing our entry strategy for Michael to not have to be so dedicated to that time away from home. And what are we going to do when he comes into the house? And it is an adjustment because, I have been home. Fortunately, Michael only goes away for 2 or 3 days a week, but it's still going to be that adjustment of him being here every day and creating that routine of him being in the home. And what are we going to do to make accommodations for that, and making sure that his needs are taken care of too, and that we have this opportunity to live out what we work so hard to set up for ourselves, and we're not going to find ourselves being disappointed by ailments or immobility, or just not having that plan for what do we do with ourselves all day long. We have this now flexibility or newfound freedom.
Yeah, we just heard an interesting viewpoint on a podcast. I'm not going to remember her name. Is it Wiley? What's her name? Anyway, on this podcast, she's an expert about a lot of stuff. She's written 5 books, and she was saying that men ancestrally become parasites. I'm like, whoa! I mean, that's an earful. What do you mean by that? But how she explained it was, men, once they're done hunting and gathering, they usually kind of take a back seat, and they have no function at all. And the wife will then hunt. The wife will usually hunt, and once they have more than one kid, they no longer can hunt. Because they can hunt if they can tie the kid to their back, but they no longer can hunt if they have more than one kid. And then once the woman has 2 kids, then the grandmother hunts. And so the man's
Probably because the grandfather didn't make it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, grandfather didn't make it. So the man's main function at that point, or what happens to the man, is he ends up competing for food with the sons, like who's going to get to eat the most, so and there's a few other things that she said in that were really interesting. But if you think about it, it's kind of what happens in our modern day life. You kind of like,
what's your purpose?
What's your purpose? Where do you fit in? Sometimes people just kind of melt away into that lazy boy, and the health just mount up. There's something else that she said that I can't remember that was really interesting.
So the takeaway, or what we really wanted to the message we wanted to share with you guys today, was have a plan. Have a plan for everything in your life. If you're going to spend time financially planning your retirement, and you're going to spend time exiting your career field and what it is you're going to do to get out of that job, spend as much time planning your re-entry into life. And for a lot of men, it is that time where they have to re-enter a life that's kind of, in a lot of sad situations, passed them by in certain seasons. And I know it's not always like that. It's not always been like that with Michael either. But during those times where he was really bogged down with work, and then we had a season in life where we were dependent solely on the American Airlines career for Michael, and we totally appreciate it and we're super grateful for it. But he was working like double shifts and tons of overtime, and like he would literally be gone for days. And that's just what we had to do in that season of our life. Like I said, you can't get that time back, but you can in a sense get it back if you have a plan to re-enter your life. And how is it that you can now step back into your life and have an active role? And how do you take advantage of that active role? And you take advantage of it by bringing your best version of you, making sure that you have your mobility intact and that you're not managing a bunch of ailments wellness wise, and that that you're cognitively going to be there and you have the energy that you want to have, and so you can have what it is that you've dreamt about all those years when you had to say, I'm sorry, kids, I couldn't be there, or honey, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be home for dinner, or whatever it is you had to do to make things work at that time. How do you now take advantage of this new opportunity to live your best life once you've achieved that level of satisfaction of actually being able to retire? And I know for a lot of people, it seems like it's never going to happen. We're fortunate that Michael's in a position where we can make it happen for ourselves, and we want to take full advantage of having daddy back home. And so he has been very cognitive of his health and his well-being and his physicality to make sure that he's going to be present with us 100%, and then there's not something that we have to manage. And the other thing from a woman's standpoint, so ladies, and men should pay attention to this as well. I have always worked. Fortunately, I get to work from home, but I've also raised kids. And the last thing that I want to do at this stage in my life is take care of a husband. Like, I want us to be partners. I've done my job of raising kids. And so I don't want to necessarily have to care for someone at home who hasn't cared for themselves. And so I think that's a responsibility we have for our spouses as well, is to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves so that someone else doesn't have the burden of taking care of us for as long as possible. Now, there's going to be a time, hopefully, where Michael and I grow old together for many, many years down the road, where we hopefully can take care of each other, but we don't want it to be a burden at this point in our life. So that's that inner responsibility I think we have to our spouse, to make sure that we're being responsible about taking care of ourselves so that we're not putting that burden on someone else. And I don't want to slow Michael down with all the things that he has set for himself as far as goals for the future. And I don't want to be slowed down with all the things that I want to have for my future as well. So we have to make sure that we are staying at the same pace, and that we can pace each other and be a team together as a couple who's growing older together, and that we are really setting ourselves up for all the goals that we have for ourselves and our future with our kids and our grandkids as well.
Yeah, and we probably should talk about what's the approach you should take to make this happen, because I thought I always knew how you could enter retirement, with a healthy approach. And I thought I knew what that looked like. And I think today it looks a lot different than what I thought it would look like. And all the stuff that we've been doing over the past year, and the stuff I've learned, kind of tagging along with Diane with the, living the keto-like lifestyle and intermittent fasting and becoming fat adaptive and these things, I'd never really heard of that. And I feel like I'm pretty up to date on health issues. I mean, I've read all the right magazines and I've read all the books, and I've been practicing this lifestyle. I've been trying to practice a healthy lifestyle since high school. And of course, I've had phases where I've been in and out of, where you pick up weight that you need to lose and that sort of thing. But I think now with what we're doing and with what we've learned, I think the approach can be much easier going into retirement with this approach of a ketogenic like lifestyle, because everything you do is going to be easier. Your workouts are going to be easier. How you eat is, I mean, to me, it just seems like it's way easier than what I used to do, and I'm getting way better results. I mean, like the weight I am right now today, 197. I haven't seen that weight since I was probably in my mid-20s. And it's not because I'm doing something that's so over the top amazing, like I'm at the gym for 3 hours and then I go for a 5-mile run. I'm not doing that. I'm just living this ketogenic like lifestyle, and it is working. It's amazing. So I think going into retirement with that mindset and using these tools that we've been using now, that I don't know where they've been my whole life. I mean, because we've struggled, we've done things, and we've been in and out of diets, and we've been in and out of these, fat, trying to figure this out. Like, where has this been my whole life? Because if I had this, I wouldn't have had to go through those struggles. So I think knowing what we know now, and as we move forward into retirement, and a lot of our people that are listening are already retired. So if you're retired already, what's the next 10 years going to look like? If you've been retired already, like, what's it going to look like for you 5 years from now or 10 years from now? It should look just as good as it does today, or if not better. So, with that in mind, I think the tools we have now and what research and science is coming out now, we can do just about anything. I mean, if you want to live beyond 100, you can do it and be healthy and be strong and be in have your life. Mind still and be in your life. Whereas before, I don't know, it's kind of hit and miss. Like with some of the practices that we were doing, it wasn't so much of a guarantee. I mean, this is not a guarantee, but I feel a heck of a lot better with this approach, this ketogenic lifestyle, than what we used to do. Right.
And I think too, like what you just said, is not passively entering into that next stage of life, but aggressively entering into that next stage of life. And so Michael and I are constantly experimenting with things, and we're constantly testing things out, and we're constantly trying new ways of doing some things in what it is that we're doing with our health and fitness and well-being. And that's because things are changing so rapidly, and that you don't have to rely on traditional type of things anymore to even fight illnesses or ailments or deterioration. Like, there's so many ways that you can, quote unquote, biohack your own destiny and live a life, like Michael just said, where you have 100% control of your functions, and you're not just withering away and waiting for that day. Like, we have no doubt that we will be actively pursuing our life from this point forward, and we have no fear of the next 50 years, or we have no stress about the next 50 years, and we have no inhibitions about what it is that we'll be able to do. We know that we're going to do whatever we have to do and whatever we can do, and we're going to utilize the resources available to us to make sure that we are functioning at the level that we want to function at in all areas of our life, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, actively, all of those things, energy wise, because there's just too much information out there. And passively entering into the second phase of your life, I think, is a really dangerous way to live, because we don't have to do that anymore. We have everything at our disposal research wise. We have everything at our disposal for a lot of us, just experimentation wise. And in the worst case scenario, just incorporate this type of lifestyle. Intermittent fasting and really knowing what it is that you're putting in your body can make the world of difference. And then if you have some specific things that you find are deteriorating faster than others, do your research on it and take your chance that, something might just be there for you, waiting, and you just have to find it and start implementing it, and then trust and believe that your mind has control over your destiny, and that if you have faith in the fact that you want to have a healthy retirement and an active retirement and an energized retirement, then keep that mindset going and keep everything in your life healthy and strong, and you'll be able to live that out for as long as you can.
And I always imagine like going into retirement, and like we're talking about trying to go in with a healthy approach. It always kind of scared me a little bit, thinking that I would possibly have to leave my life. I've had to leave my life a little bit to get into shape. Like when I've gotten out of shape and I've picked up too much weight, I've had to kind of leave my life. And what I mean by that is, anybody's been on a diet, you know what that means. You know what it feels like when you can't eat the things you want to eat. You can't do the things you want to do. You just feel like, I can't wait till this is over. Give me the end date. If you can give me the end date, I can get there. Then you go back to the same thing again. So it's just a cycle. But knowing what we know now, I know that I don't have to give up my life for a diet or something and just be miserable in those situations. Now with this, I feel like I don't have to give up a lot. You know what I mean? Because with this lifestyle and intermittent fasting, like today I fasted for 20 hours. I did it very easily because I'm fat adaptive. So tonight I'll probably have a beer,
Surprisingly, it's taco night at our house.
We're going to have a good meal tonight, I'm sure. I fasted 20 hours 3 days this week, and the other days were probably 16 to 18. I feel pretty good. So I feel like I don't have to exit my life. I feel like if I want to this weekend, I want to wake up and have breakfast, I will, So I feel like I could do a lot of things that, in the past, like when I've had to really knuckle down and get serious and lose weight, I had to exit a little bit, and it was hard. I hate that feeling of I can't do the things I want to do, and I can't eat the foods I want to eat, and I have to live a certain way. It's miserable. It's misery, and I feel like I don't have to live that way anymore. Right,
and we are like super excited. Like fortunately, we have a really good relationship, which we've worked on a lot. And we're excited about retirement. We're excited about waking up in the morning and having our water and having a cup of black coffee and going on a walk and really having time and traveling and being involved in our kids' lives. And so we have to proactively go after that. And we're excited about it. And I know there's a lot of people that we've talked about in our community of friends who were like dreading retirement because they don't know what to do with themselves. And I think, or they're bored in retirement. And we always shake our heads like, how can you ever be bored in retirement? Like, we can't wait to have the extra time. We can't wait to have the extra resources. We can't wait to have that extra energy that we can do all the things that we want to do on a continuous basis and not having to keep stopping for a job. Let me see what Carrie has to say. You're right, Michael. IF Keto Fitness is a way of life and such freedom. Great way to live and no reason to fear what lies ahead. Absolutely, Carrie. Lynn, I retired 3 years ago and I feel better now than before because of IF. Oh, that's hopeful. Thank you for sharing that. That's always good to hear. I am so busy with things that excite me. I now have more energy and I'm looking forward to what comes my way. Stay interested and stay interesting. Very good advice. More importantly, stay healthy so you can do what inspires you.
Yep.
Lynn, thank you for sharing that. That is exactly the point right there. And pursue those things you didn't have time to do, either as a mom because you were raising kids or a husband because you were at a job. Like if you've wanted to become a tennis player, become a tennis player. If you've always wanted to be an athlete, become an athlete. If you wanted to be, crochet or play cards or be a painter, pursue all of those things. And that's really what's going to keep us healthy and active and happy and cognitively there as well, using our brain and not being afraid or limited by a certain age or category that you think you're supposed to fall into. I can't wait, for these next 10 or 20 years. We're so excited about the things we're going to do, and we're going to make sure that we are in a position where we can take full advantage of them. And we're going to share everything that we know with you guys so you can be in the same position as well. So put as much time into planning your retirement or your re-entry into life as you do the other aspects of your retirement, and make sure that you have a game plan for yourself so that you can take full advantage of the extra hours in the day that you're going to be gifted when you're retired, and make sure that everything that you've worked so hard to achieve for retirement, that you are put in a position where you can take full advantage of it.
And it's important to note, I won't be fully retired.
No.
Just retired from a job I've been on for 35 years, which is retirement enough for me because I do have an appraisal business that I run, and we have a social media business, and
a 12-year-old daughter.
12, yeah, so we have a lot of stuff to do. So we won't be like fully retired. I mean, that'll be somewhere.
Well, and I don't think
maybe we'll never be fully retired.
I don't ever see ourselves being fully retired, but at least you're not stuck to the confines of a job or you have to leave your life. And I think that's the big message. I don't think you should ever be retired from your life. Right. There's always things that we're going to be doing. And we're fortunate enough to being in a position where we're pursuing our passions. And Michael loves the real estate business, so does the appraisal job in his appraisal business. And I love what I do here in this community. So it's not like we have it's torture for us. We feel super blessed. But I think sometimes you feel like if you're earning a living at something that you're not fully retired. But I have felt retired for the past 5 or 6 years. And I know when you're really into the grind of your appraisal business and doing what you love to do, you kind of feel that way too.
And it's something I can turn off and on whenever I want because it's my business, and I don't answer to anybody. So
so find find a good hobby when you're retired to keep yourself active and busy. Retirement doesn't mean that you have to stop doing everything. It just means that you're leaving something that you were kind of confined to for a certain amount of time, and you've worked to that point where you can leave it, and then you can pick up some other new hobbies as well. So if you're entering into retirement, or if you are retired and you're feeling stuck and you don't know what to do with yourself, put some action steps into place and put together a plan for yourself that will really help you fulfill what it is that you hope to fulfill when you got to that point where you were lucky enough to be retired for something. And then pick up something new to do so that you make sure that you're cognitively, physically, emotionally, mentally, and energized wise can take full advantage of the time that you have for yourself and your family.
Yeah, I think.
What? Oh, Carrie, let me see. No, I think we got it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got it. All right, we're going to let you guys go. It's Friday. We are going to go make tacos and stay inside because it's 100 and something here in Texas. 109 Texas. Exact. So we are not going outside. We're going to enjoy our family tonight and stay inside and have a great dinner. I'll share what we're having for dinner on my Instagram channel. So if you guys want to know what it is, go check it out over there. Have a great weekend.
All right, have a good weekend.